You have a baby. Congratulations. Everybody is overjoyed, and you are surrounded by your village. And your village may include grandparents and other older caregivers who are so excited to help you take care of your baby. However, if you have certain priorities or expectations or boundaries and rules surrounding your baby's sleep, you may find that your grandparents or older caregivers may not buy in as much as you do. So let's talk about ways to get grandparents on board with your baby's sleep, how to do it in a nice, kind, and thoughtful way to be able to make sure that sleep is a priority in your household. Hi, my name is Sarah, and I'm so happy you found me. As the owner and certified pediatric sleep expert of Yours and Baby Sleep, I have helped over 400 families get their sleep on track, sleep through the night, get long, predictable naps, and I can't wait to help your family figure out how to make sleep a priority with grandparents involved. I'd love to bring you into my world just briefly before I explain ways that we can get grandparents on track with your sleep priorities. So when I had my oldest daughter, I was so fortunate to be able to have a ton of help from both my mother and father-in-law and my husband's grandmother, so my grandmother-in-law. When I was really trying to establish sleep, I was flying blind. I had no idea what to do with her sleep until I started reading a lot of books and educating myself in the world of sleep. And we have so much information now. I was all over Google, I was reading tons of books, and there's just a lot of opportunities to learn about subjects in this modern world. And when I was making the transition back to work and my husband's grandmother was watching the baby, I had very specific schedules outlined, written out. I had her write down the time that she napped and woke up, how much she ate, everything every single day. And I have to say I was one of the lucky ones because there really wasn't much pushback at all from my family members about my what seems kind of neurotic way of managing the baby's schedule when I was not taking care of her. However, we did have conversations like, this just kind of wasn't the way it was when I raised your husband. Even my parents said that. This wasn't the way it was when we had you. And my response to that was always loving and understanding and firm, that I understand that it wasn't like that back in that time. However, we have so much information now, and when you know better, you do better. So this is what I would like to try and prioritize for our family, and I so appreciate your help as we're making that priority. And just going at it with the understanding that your grandparents and older caregivers have done a great job of raising you and your partner, and they did what worked for them in the moment, and it's okay for them to be able to offer their advice on what may have worked back then. And it's okay for you to say, I love that, and thank you so much. However, this is actually the research that I've done now that is really up to date, and I'd like to see how this works for my family. So let's level set some expectations first before we come up with a plan for your caregivers. What I want you to remember is that if you have grandparents who are just visiting, right? So you have grandparents who maybe don't live locally, who live far away, maybe are here for a weekend, or maybe just pop by once or twice a week at nighttime, and they want to snuggle the baby, or they want the baby to stay up late. I don't know. What I would say is let that happen and just roll with it, honestly, because when we're talking about not following the rules, that's kind of what grandparents are there for. They've waited all this time to be in that position where they can bend the rules a little bit. And what the benefit for your child is going to be is a really great and different relationship with their grandparents than maybe you had with your own parents. It's a really special thing to foster and nurture. So allow them to be the people who spoil your kids, and you can take the back seat and be the bad cop because you're the parent. So don't stress out if it's, every once in a while, if it's every, 2 or 3 times a week where maybe a nap is a contact nap or maybe bedtime is pushed late. Remember that the benefit of that is the bond, and that's something that takes time to nurture and grow, and your grandparents are doing that out of pure love for your child. If you have grandparents who are going to be around a little bit more than just the occasional dinner or afternoon visit. And they are participating in your childcare, either part-time or even full-time. It is definitely worth it to have a very open conversation with them about what your priorities are specifically related to sleep. And what you can do is come prepared to the conversation with the knowledge that yes, did they do things differently? They probably did. And we need to respect that because it worked for them at that time. But you are also coming into parenthood trying to do something new. And it's really helpful if they are able to get on board with that. And that's what I would lead with. I'd lead with openness, and I would lead with empathy, and I would lead with lots of equal communication and respect for the parenting knowledge that they have, as well as what you're trying to learn. So sometimes we can bring literally to the table like a schedule. So print out what your baby's schedule is and what you would like them to follow. Maybe have them shadow you more or less for the day so that they understand the way that you're putting the baby down, what your routine is, and what preferences baby might have. And then explain what you really expect in terms of their sleep. And if they're still a little worried about that, or if it's still really hard to get them on board, what I want you to do is bring out the big guns. So what I mean by that is research. So all of the research that you have done, I'd like you to bring that to the grandparents, and I'd like you to say, listen, I've done a lot of research on this, and these are the benefits of keeping sleep on track. These are the benefits of really great naps. It means that we can have really great nights, and it's really hard for me to go to work every day or be outside of the home when I'm not sleeping. So it is a priority for myself and for our family that we make sure that sleep stays sustainable so that I can work in the way that I need to work now. And sometimes when you bring the conversation back around to how it's going to benefit you, because remember, you're still their baby, you're still their child, and they want to make sure that they're helping you too, that can click something else on their brain that's like, okay, yeah, maybe I should listen up and hear them out on this topic. I think it's really important to have these conversations with the utmost respect, because when you're speaking with respect, hopefully it is returned. However, there are going to be circumstances where your grandparents are not going to respect what the sleep schedule is, and what this can eventually lead to is some tension in the household. And what I will say is that if that is happening, my heart goes out to you, because I'm sure that it is very challenging to know that you have these people who you love and trust with your child and their care. However, what's resulting is a really wonky daytime nap schedule. And what I'm going to remind you of is that so many families have their children in daycare. And in that case, there really is no control over the schedule, the way they're put to sleep, the length of time they're sleeping, and the sleep environment that they're in. And I promise you that babies still sleep fine at night, even when they're napping less or not ideally at daycare, because your child knows the difference between caregivers. They understand what the rules are with grandma and grandpa, and they understand what the rules are with mom and dad. So if you are struggling to get sleep on track during the daytime, what I would suggest for you after having these conversations, if you're really not aligning with your caregivers, I want you to shift bedtime earlier and to just offer more sleep for your child in the overnight hours. And I want to make sure that you've established independent sleep habits for your children as well. This is going to be the most important piece across the board for both grandparents and you, to ensure that your kid is sleeping well. Because when your babies are sleeping on their own, we can almost guarantee that they are going to be able to sleep well no matter who is caring for them, and they're going to have better stretches of sleep at night, which will translate to better naps during the day. If you are interested in learning about teaching your children independent sleep, I have some great resources on my YouTube channel. So head over to look at the videos about utilizing the chair method and time checks as two really supportive sleep training methods to teaching independent sleep. And if you need a little further support, head over to my website. I work with families one-on-one, providing them personalized sleep programs and helping not only parents but also other caregivers get on board and buy into prioritizing your child's sleep. Once again, my name is Sarah, and if you found this information helpful, be sure to give it a like and please leave a comment if you have any specific questions. I love interacting with you and helping you troubleshoot your sleep situations, so comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can know when I am releasing all of the latest sleep videos, and turn on notifications so you can be the first to know when my weekly videos come out. From my living room to yours, thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you again next time.